Hey guys, Riverraven here, and this is today's project. Well, kind of. We're going to be using this color scheme, and I've had this pop sitting around for a little while, and then one day it just clicked that this is the color scheme that I want to use for my ogres. He's from the latest God of War. He's the fire troll in that, so you may have seen him. But yeah, let's get started. Here's a list of colours that I used for the project, but as always I advocate that you just use whatever you've got. If you do want to follow this list, the last 4 are probably a little bit optional depending on what you want to do, and you'll see that throughout the video. Here's the ogres that I'm going to be painting. Of course you can paint any old ogres that you've got laying around. My ones specifically are from the Feast of Bones set. I actually used the black spray paint from Citadel on these for the first time, and it was surprisingly good. I was really surprised about how good it was and how fast it was to get that base color down on miniatures. I'll definitely be using it again. Alright, starting us off, we're using the Hexed Lichen from Vallejo. This is actually a really good purple. So you may have noticed we are watering it down quite a bit, and that's because we want this purple to get into all of the cracks and crevices on the model. And we're going to be using a lot of dry brushes over the top of this, so it's going to work really well. So here we're just mixing some Macragge blue with the purple, and that's because if you look at the pop, it's actually this sort of weird bluey purple colour. It was actually really hard to try and replicate, and I went with more of just a purpley colour in the end. So this is kind of what you want it to look like, and remember that this is the first of many layers to come. So it doesn't have to look perfect, but eventually those layers are going to build up and look really good. And here we're just doing another layer with a slightly wider purple, and you really want it to be a dry brush so that it doesn't go into those darker cracks. You want to keep them nice and dark. So I ended up watering down some purple and just redoing all of the creases again because I wanted them a bit darker. But, you know, if you're happy with your creases, then just keep them the way they are. Here we've got the skin pretty much finished. I ended up using about 4 layers, making them a bit lighter each time, and I think they've come out pretty good. Up next we're using lead belcher on all of the metal parts. You could probably use any type of metal paint that you've got. As they're ogres, I like to try and use a rougher type of metal, something that hasn't really been refined, and we're going to be rusting these up as well. So for this next step I use dryad bark, but I also use some other browns, mainly because I wanted to have different coloured pants. Like, I don't like having those armies that all have the same coloured pants and same coloured clothes. It's totally up to you. You can use
you know, the same pants for every soldier if you want. That's just my opinion on it. And like I always say, it's totally up to you. My thoughts on the Ogres is that they don't really have a uniform, so they're probably just picking up pieces of things that they can use for pants. So that's kind of my thoughts on, and why I like to paint them with different browns and make them all a bit unique. Here I'm using a watered down Mornfang brown as just sort of a wash, and that's because, like I just said before, I wanted the pants to all be different, so I'm giving this specific ogre a wash of Mornfang brown, but other ones I'm going to be doing different washes. Once you're happy with your metal, just apply a Reclan flesh shade into all the crevices and stuff where rust would sit. We're now building up our rust layer, and you basically want it in all the creases, and you can put it into the scratches like I've done here, but totally up to you. I just would be very careful and not use too much. Here I'm just adding a little bit of gold to it. You want to use the tiniest bit of gold just to kind of get that metal effect into the brown wash. This is what your models should look like once you've put the rust on them and done their pants. Don't forget to put a little rust onto the metal of their boots as well. As you can see, this guy, he's got kind of red boots, and that's because I painted them brown first and then did a red wash over the top. But obviously I don't want anything to be like popping it out too much. I don't really want any bright colours on them. I want them to have this sort of darker neutral tone. Taking Citadel's Wraithbone paint, we are just going to do the stitches here. I also did them in a variety of different colours. I painted this flame white to begin with, and now we're just putting Vallejo's Sun Yellow over the top of it, and we are quickly going to build this up. And I had to mix my own orange for this, which works out great because then you can really capture the flame. And then yeah, I just painted the skin to give it that glow effect as if it was in the dark. You don't have to do this. If you are going to do this though, remember that metal reflects more than what skin does, so make sure you hit the metal points really well. And now I'm just putting on a dry brush. This is going to do a lot for the pants with just a limited amount of effort. So this is what they should look like, and now I'm just going to add a touch of white. Alright, so now we're up to the hardest part to do on camera, which is the eyes. Now I wanted to keep them red, but not like a glowy red, just kind of like their eyes are red, like the pop. And I think it turned out alright. They don't look like they're that evil red like creature lurking in the dark type thing. They just look like their eyes are red, which is what I wanted. Alright, so our models are pretty much finished and this next part is really optional. So I thought I'd like to dirty them all up with blood all over them. Because I just imagine, you know, they're in battle, they don't wipe it off, like why would an ogre be cleaning, you know, their armor or weapons or anything. So yeah, this part's totally optional, totally up to you, but yeah, this is what I'm doing. And that's our ogres pretty much done. I haven't done the base yet, and I haven't done a few of the other details, which we'll get into in a minute, but yeah, looking at them, they're pretty much done. And I decided that I didn't like the design that I put on the flag, so I painted over it and did a much simpler design. What do you guys think? Did you like the other one better or this one? So this is another way you can put a little bit of blood on them by putting it on your brush and flicking it into them like that. But do be careful, I managed to get this on my camera lens, which was not good, but it does give a really good effect. So I decided I was going to try to put some writing in here. And I don't know if you guys like write with your brush, but man, it is not easy. So I decided that we would cheat and use my Gundam marker. And even this turned out to be not as easy as I thought it was going to be, but it was at least a little bit better. And then I thought this shield's a bit too clean, so we'll just dirty it up with a wash. Up next we got the Gnoblas, I believe it's pronounced. I don't think the G is silent. Let me know if I am pronouncing that properly or not. But with these guys, I just thought, you know, I'll do them in like some bright colours. You can just imagine that as they're wandering along with the ogres, they've just picked up something and thrown it on some sort of flag from the Empire or something. And then of course I didn't want this guy looking too clean either, so he got pretty much covered in a wash. And here he is all finished. Hope you guys like him. Taking Wraithbone again, I did the teeth, and after that I put a wash over it so that they don't look too clean. Alright, so we are on the final steps here. I'm mixing some Dryad bark with Adrex Earthshade, and we're just doing the base. I decided to go with a snow base, well, sort of like a ground grass snow base, as if they're sort of just coming out of winter. And I actually had a little helper for this part, not that she was much help. Next I'm just mixing some dryad bark and some white together, and we're just going to give it a little dry brush. For this final part I'm just taking straight white and we're just going to paint the little stones that are on the base. Now you want to make sure that this is definitely a dry brush, because you don't want those little rocks to be too white.
Alright, final steps right here. Just put some glue down on your base, once you're happy with how it's painted, of course. And then, yeah, pretty much lay whatever you want on top.
Alright, that is them all finished. Before I show you the final finished models, I just want to say thank you for watching this. It really means a lot to me, and if you could like this video, hit subscribe and share it with somebody, that would be fantastic.